Imagine stepping to the edge of a dark mouth in the earth, where the light from the world above is already a memory and the air grows colder and quieter with every step. Imagine the feeling of your heartbeat matching the drip of water somewhere unseen, and the sense that everything you know about direction and safety has been left behind with the last ray of sunlight. Caves are beautiful. They are mysterious. They are alive in ways that make people want to explore them, to learn from them, to push their limits. But they are also places that do not forgive mistakes. If you love stories of exploration, survival, and the quiet, terrible lessons that come from stepping where most people do not, subscribe to this channel now. If you stay until the end of this video, you will hear stories that are haunting and instructive, and you will be asked a question that will make you rethink how you value curiosity, thrill, and safety. For now, breathe in, and follow me into the dark. Our first story takes us to the rugged landscape of San Luis Potosí, Mexico. A group of 5 friends decided to go camping and explore a famous cave that locals both admired and feared. Miguel was the leader. Around him were his friends Carlos, Alejandro, Alo, and Daniel. None of them had any real experience with caves. They did not have helmets. They did not have proper lighting or other safety gear. What they packed was a stack of beer, bottles of tequila, and a loudspeaker to keep the party alive underground. The entrance to the cave swallowed the afternoon light. Their laughter echoed into the stone like a radio station transmitting to no audience. At first, the cave felt like a shelter, a thrilling private space where rules from the surface did not apply. They drank, they played music, and the party began. Walls that had been formed over geological time became a backdrop for something reckless and human and short-sighted. That night a storm rolled in. Rain came down hard, and water that would have otherwise flowed harmlessly across the land began to change the cave's behavior. Caves are connected to the world outside in ways most people do not appreciate. A sudden downpour outside can shift the ground inside a cave, saturate paths, and make previously safe areas treacherous. In the confusion, Miguel decided he wanted more beer from the campsite. Alejandro, trying to help a friend who had had too much to drink, went with him. The path they took had been marked for a reason. The ground near the edge of the passage was unstable. Miguel, stumbling in the dark with a weak light and clouded judgment, took a step that he thought was solid. He was wrong. Beneath his foot there was not the ridge he expected but a vertical drop concealed in shadow. He fell, his scream swallowed by the cave, first down a long shaft, then sliding across sloping rock and falling again into a lower chamber. The sound of his body striking stone ended that scream. He died instantly. When Alejandro returned to the others, panic spread like wildfire. Someone called for help. Rescuers arrived only when the storm eased and daylight returned. The rescue team descended with ropes, helmets, and training the friends did not have. They found Miguel at the bottom. After the recovery, local authorities added warning signs and banned underground parties. For the friends who had gone down to celebrate, the memory of that night became a heavy and permanent thing. This tragedy is brutal because it is avoidable. Alcohol and caves are a dangerous combination. Darkness hides edges. Water changes ground in unpredictable ways. The simple decision to treat a cave like a club rather than a hazardous environment cost a life. From Mexico we move north to a different kind of mistake, one born not of bravado but of miscalculation and the pressure of inexperience. In a cave near Vancouver, 3 young friends set out to find a small chamber that would glitter in their lamps like a private treasure. Alex had more caving experience. Rachel had joined him before. Jack was on his first descent into a cave. They moved through narrow passages. At a certain point the cave split. One path opened into a large chamber that promised the sparkling sight they had heard about. The other route was tighter, more mysterious, and unforgiving. The passage they encountered was called a squeeze, and in caves a squeeze is an invitation to focus and method. For cave explorers, who goes first matters. The smallest, most flexible person often leads, clearing the path for those who follow. That time, Rachel, slim and practiced at small spaces, went first. Jack, breathing hard but determined, went second. Alex, tall and broad, was last. Between the thrill and the pressure of the moment, he made a decision that turned everything. He attempted to slip through a narrow chasm and became wedged where stone closed around him, pressing into his chest, arms, and legs. Panic rose. Time in narrow spaces is a silent killer because it reduces air, increases anxiety, and makes rational movement impossible. Rachel and Jack reached the sparkling chamber and only then realized Alex had not followed. His calls for help were muffled but real. Rescue teams were summoned. The cave rescue that followed included skilled people who used tools to attempt to free Alex. They worked with ropes and with mechanical devices to widen passages when possible. Long, grueling effort in the dark is not like pulling on a jacket. It is slow, painstaking, and oxygen becomes a currency that runs out. By the time the team freed Alex and carried him out, his body had been under pressure and in a poor air pocket long enough that he could not recover. He did not survive. This story highlights another truth: caves respect experience, planning, and patience. Small choices, who goes first, how you breathe, how long you wait when someone gets stuck, determine outcomes in spaces where help is slow to arrive. Not all cave tragedies are dramatic in the same way. Some are the product of curiosity, of rumor, of the pull of hidden spaces that tempt people to squeeze into places no human was meant to squeeze into. In Oklahoma, 2 brothers and a friend ignored basic caving wisdom and decided to explore a side passage whispered about in local stories. They entered with a single flashlight between them. They crawled through cold, damp passages lined with slick rock and turned toward a narrow slot called a keyhole formation. The keyhole is a type of squeeze where the passage narrows so much that one must think through every movement, and where the direction of travel matters. There is a rule in caving: when you go into a passage too tight to turn around easily, go feet first if possible. That way if you meet trouble you can back out. The young man who went in head first found the passage tightened ahead until he could not move forward nor back. The floor pulled him deeper by gravity as his chest and shoulders were held fast. He could not breathe easily, a panic response made each inhale shallow and rapid. His partner tried to help and could not reach him. They went for help. Rescuers arrived and began to work, but in these kinds of squeezes, only the most methodical, patient rescue attempts have a chance. Tools had to be used to widen the passage, but time without fresh air is a cruel enemy. When they finally reached his feet and attempted to pull him free, the leverage was not enough and the only option became to carefully remove material around him. They managed to pull him out, but he had not survived. It is tempting to think of caves as places to be conquered. They are not. They are places to be respected. Tight spaces, where each inhale is a negotiation, are reminders of our physical limits. A very different tragedy occurred in a place where ice and water turned normal safety plans into a death sentence. A scientist and his friends explored a cave system under melting snow and cold water. One of them rigged himself to a rope and descended a vertical shaft where a waterfall of freezing water poured down. The water was like a living thing, it carried cold and force, and where water touches the human body at near freezing temperatures, hypothermia is close at hand. In this story the rope trapped an arm. Pinned in a stream of ice-cold water, a person cannot feel the slow disappearance of warmth. Friends above fought to haul him up, but the pressure of water and the slickness of rock made each attempt futile. They left, sought help, and by the time trained rescuers arrived, the person was gone. What followed was harsh and sad. Rockfall and instability made rescuers fear that the cave might collapse. Faced with risk to the rescuers and little chance of changing what had happened, authorities sealed the cave. Years later, a descendant of the landowner refused to let a friend remain in the earth and assembled a team to recover the remains. They went back into the same unstable places and after long work they found the remains and carried them out. For families, sometimes a closure like this is everything. For rescuers and for explorers, it is a reminder of what conditions can do. Cold, water, and unexpected mechanical failure or sudden entrapment are a lethal mix. Finally, consider the story of a group intending a deep descent into a pit, a place where rope and rigging are the lifeline between the surface and a stone floor below. They arrived after recent rain had made the pit slippery and wet. Even experienced cavers must respect the way water changes dynamics. Ropes rub differently over sharp edges, knots can shift, and rock can cut fibers already weakened by years of use. In this case, the leader descended first with a rope set over a rough ledge that had grooves cut into it by previous ropes. He reached the bottom and returned to find everything ready to pull the rest up. The other caver began his own ascent, and at some point the rope parted. The fall was catastrophic. The leader, who had checked everything above and below, was left with the horror of realizing a fall had occurred. He rushed to get help and the rescue team worked through the night, but the person who fell did not survive. These incidents share elements. They all involve a failure to respect a natural environment that hides hazards and beauty. They all show how quickly small mistakes cascade into irreversible outcomes. They all involve people who were driven by curiosity, confidence, or a culture of risk-taking that underestimates what it means to be underground. If you are listening and think you might someday explore a cave, here are the practical lessons that every serious caver would tell you, delivered in a way that a voice on a video can make clear. Go with people who are knowledgeable and trained. Never go alone. Bring redundant lighting, more than one source per person, and know how to secure it. Helmets are not optional. They protect not only from falling rock but from low ceilings where a single bump can injure you. If you move into areas with vertical drops, learn how to rig anchors properly and inspect your gear carefully, especially where rope runs over rock edges. Do not combine alcohol and underground exploration. Impaired judgment and slick surfaces are a dangerous mix. Leave a plan with someone on the surface and establish check-in rules. Respect posted signs. When you see "do not enter," assume a reason deeper than mere inconvenience. The psychology of exploration matters as much as the gear. People go into caves seeking privacy, thrills, or to feel alive in ways the surface world does not allow. Peer pressure can push someone to attempt a squeeze they should not, and group dynamics can discourage the slow, cautious choices that safety requires. A brave person goes into a cave with humility. An overconfident person assumes the cave will change to suit them. This is not bravery, it is hubris. Rescue teams who work in caves deserve particular attention. Cave rescue is specialized work that often requires months of training and a readiness to spend long hours in wet, cold, dark conditions. Rescuers learn to build anchors, to haul carefully with mechanical advantage, to manage breathing and patient care in tight spaces, and to make decisions about when digging or enlarging a passage is safer than trying to pull someone through. They balance the urgency of a rescue with the risk to those doing the rescuing. Their work saves lives sometimes, and sometimes it cannot undo the damage time in low oxygen pockets or crushing pressure has already done. Respect for those teams means understanding that calling for help early gives them the best chance to succeed. The tragedies we have told are not meant to feed morbid curiosity. They are cautionary tales that carry lessons. Each story is also the story of relationships and of the ripple impact of a single night. Friends live with the memory. Families live with the absence. Rescuers carry images too. And communities sometimes change their laws or post warnings because of a death that might otherwise have been prevented. As the dark of these tales settles, ask yourself a few things. What is the value of a single thrill compared to safety? What responsibility do you owe to the people who would have to search for you if something went wrong? How do you balance curiosity against the reality that some environments are designed by physics and geology, not by human will? These are not theoretical questions. They are moral and practical decisions that matter. Before we close, I want to give you a sense of the aftermath in human terms. For those who survived the events we discussed, the road back is not physical alone. Survivor's guilt, the memory of a friend's last sound, the knowledge that a decision at a moment in time cannot be reversed, these shape people in deep ways. Some become advocates for safer exploration. Some retreat from adventure. Some try to honor the lost by learning and teaching. That ripple is part of why telling these stories matters. If this video resonated with you, please do subscribe to the channel. When you subscribe, you become part of a community that values careful exploration of the unknown. Hit like if you found the stories compelling, and leave a comment sharing your thoughts. I read as many comments as I can, and those conversations matter because they keep the memory of these events alive in a way that can educate others. Now I want to leave you with a few questions to think about and to answer in the comments. Would you ever enter a cave that is known to be dangerous if you could see something extraordinary inside that very few people would ever see? If you said yes, what would change your mind? If you said no, what past experience or value influences you most? Do you think authorities should permanently restrict access to certain caves, or are there ways to balance preservation and controlled exploration? Share a time when you or someone you know made a quick decision in the outdoors that later felt reckless. What did you learn from it? These questions make the stories more than entertainment. They make them a mirror for personal choices. Thank you for listening to these stories and for taking a moment to consider what safety, curiosity, and responsibility mean in places where the earth hides secrets. If you want more deep dives into cautionary tales and the natural mysteries that shape them, subscribe and ring the notifications so you do not miss future videos. Stay curious, stay careful, and if you ever choose to go underground, do it with knowledge, preparation, and respect for the silence that caves demand.